Okay. Hello everybody, I'm Trayan Momkov, and together with Dimitar Stoyanov, we will show you that the world could be a better place. So stay with us. We both are backend developers in SolarEdge, and what we have in common is that we hate frontend, or until Vaadin. So yeah, I think it will be. But actually, how many of you have you ever heard about Vaadin before? Raise your hands. Okay, a lot of people. That's good. That's good. Some of them are writing web components also for Vaadin. Toma is there. Okay, so what else in the beginning? I guess we can move to the next slide, which is the agenda. Our presentation is small. We want to focus on the advantages, and also we'll talk about the disadvantages of the Vaadin. We have a live demo, which will take the most of the time of the presentation. So yeah, Mitko, what is the agenda for today?
So first off, we're going to show off, we're going to pretty much show what Vaadin is, what it's used for. Then we're going to show a basic example. Trayan will cover some common architectures, both for regular front end and how Vaadin doesn't exactly fit. Then I'm going to do a live demo. Hopefully a lot of stuff will fail, so it's going to be fun. And yeah, at the end we're gonna go through some pros and cons, and then we'll have a Q&A session. So yeah, Trayan, please explain what is Vaadin.
Yeah. So as you can see, the most important part in this slide is the big heart. So in short, Vaadin is web framework. Actually, they don't call it exactly framework, but platform, something bigger. But we can say it's a framework with which you can write your UI in pure Java. Very simple, very easy, pure Java, no HTML, no CSS, and most important, no JavaScript. Everything is created by Vaadin for you. Vaadin means literally reinder or deer, or it is coming from Finnish. In Bulgarian, it is Severen Elen. I guess they chose the name because the animal is very strong, very reliable, just like Vaadin. Okay, so you can be very, very productive, and in very short time you can create your UI. Vaadin is perfect for back office applications, but not only. So yeah, this is in short. I prefer to show you some basic example so you can get to see what exactly it is. Actually, if you know the swing with which you can create a desktop application, the API of Vaadin is very similar. So Mitko, please show some basic example.
So this is a basic example of what some Vaadin code looks like. You have a bunch of layouts that you can extend, and you can route them like you would route, let's say, a regular Spring controller. So in this example, we have the end result is a very simple. Wait, I'm going to put on a laser point, so maybe it's going to be obvious what I'm pointing. So we have a very basic window with a click me button and a bunch of hello world notifications popping up. You can see the way this is expressed through Vaadin components in code. So you extend the layout, so this is a vertical layout as you can see in the code, and you express a button entirely through Java. Essentially, just in the back end, you just express what you want to have in your graphical interface. And then at the end, the add method is used from the original layout that's routed to a specific endpoint. In this case, we can see that it's empty, so it's straight. There is no path, pretty much. It's straight from where it's hosted. So yeah, this is the basic example of what some very, very simple application would look like. So Trayan will take it from here to talk a little bit about the architecture.
Yeah, cool. It's well visible. So I started with this small diagram to show you show the basic the basic difference between the typical architecture of a front-end application and Vaadin. Usually, the UI logic and UI state is in the browser. In Vaadin, these two things are on the server. And Vaadin makes the communication between the browser and the state and the logic, which is in the server. But this is, if I want to say it in one sentence, this is the main difference. On the next two slides, I'll show you again similar diagrams with more things on them. So let's go. So as you can see, we have a browser here and the server. Typically, the presentation layer is only in the browser, but in Vaadin, it is enhanced, it is spread on the browser and on the server too. Okay, we need a black path, I guess. What we have is UI components. Actually, Vaadin use also web components. We have UI components, which are kind of bind or mapped to components on the server. And this flow client, which is here, actually flow is part of Vaadin. It's a framework. And this flow client, it makes the whole communication, handles all the communication between the browser and the server, so that when something is changed on the UI in the browser, it directly reflects to the server. It means on every single click in the browser, request is made to the server. Vaadin is it uses WebSockets, but also can be done in the normal way with HTTP. Okay, the next slide is almost the same diagram, but with more components in it. So as you can see, just a second, I missed something. Yeah, so the important thing is that you don't need to think about the communication between the browser and the server. Vaadin is doing that for you. And the good thing, actually, one of the things that I like most is that you have UI in Java, and all benefits of the language, you have it. This is very good for me. So on the browser, you have the web components, which are bind to the server-side components in Java. You can very easily bind your details, your model to these components. We will show that later. Yeah, we have listeners, as you saw in the example. On the button, we just add the listener, and it is doing the job. And after that, we can have normal backend services. And yeah, that's it in short. So I think we can make a small pause and ask if someone has a question here. Okay, that's good. Before continue with the demo. So please.
How does it handle offline?
When it's offline, you just see, yeah, most of the things are not available, most of the logic are not available. You see just message that it's offline. But also, if we talk about mobile apps, how it was called progressive web app, I think, they have that things. And in this case, I think it could be cached, the logic could be cached on your mobile phone, and you can have some functionality, but cannot tell you more.
So it does caching, so it's part of the framework is a strategy for caching the application logic and eventually some data.
Yeah, I seen that in web apps, I mean in mobile apps. I've created once, and I was amazed that actually from my server where I'm hosting the app, it generates a web app, it's downloaded, and I have most of the functionality, I guess, and without obviously writing and changing the model, let's say, on the server, changing the data. But they do something on this in these things.
Okay, so they somehow, sorry, one last question and I also
Mm.
anymore. So all these APIs that are part of the web standards now, they abstract them somehow, or they hide them behind their own Java interfaces? How does this work?
Well, usually they have their own, let's say, architecture of the things, but they use web components, for example. So, and you can very easily enhance them.
Web components is good for UI.
Yeah.
Not necessarily if you want to interact with other things that the browser as a web platform, HTML standard gives you. All those web APIs, they are not just front end. I mean UI. They can also interact with some if it's a desktop, they can interact with the system components that are not usually available right away.
So you have some flexibility with that. You can add some additional JavaScript stuff that can be executed in the front end, I believe, and also some CSS. And you can influence it at least in that way. There are probably other ways to go about it, but it's outside of the scope of what we're doing here. So if you're interested, you can see the whole detailed documentation. There is probably a good way to do it there. So there's probably a good way to interact with the rest of the features that the browser can provide.
So what's the benefit of that framework compared to Google Web Toolkit, for example?
Actually, at the beginning, it used it. Google Web Toolkit was a base on the Vaadin, and they just enhance it. At the moment, I'm not sure. I think they don't use it, but yeah, it's similar. It's similar. They just have more components and out-of-the-box things that you can use, at least. Yeah.
What about the REST API? So here I see REST API. In your example, there was no REST API. So
Yeah, I mean, the REST API is when your backend side of your UI, he wants to get wants to do something. The business logic should be here in this layer. So it can be a microservice, it can be a service in your app, another class, let's say, the service layer. And you can directly call another method in Java. It's not necessary to be a REST to call something else, but
so
if you want to decouple things, you know.
No, you don't have to use REST. The idea is that if you already have REST, you can just call the REST endpoints. Otherwise, you can just call your database.
okay.
Yeah.
So this is just to answer Martin, this is the main difference with Google Web Toolkit. In Google Web Toolkit, you have the client and server split.
Yes.
And you have the client that's compiled to JavaScript and the server that is basically running on Java. Here it is, they don't use Google Web Toolkit anymore, but here they have this automatically. So you basically don't have this client and server. You don't have the client compilation, which was very slow in Google Web Toolkit. So everything is pretty fast. And about the caching, just to say is that there is a annotation, basically PWA, when you add it. You by default you have a service worker that will be included for you that will basically cache all the resources, images, CSS, etc. You can cache more stuff, or you can just pass your own service worker, and in this service worker you can do whatever you want. And on top of that, this PWA annotation, you can say this is my offline view. So when the app detects that it's in offline, it will basically want a different view that will not call any REST app. It's basically forbidden. It can only use the service worker, and in this view you can have like I don't know, a welcome screen or some pre-configured dummy default data, etc. Okay, and it's one line basically, one attribute to the PWA annotation.
But the primary target
It's
is not
all
the
one,
single
yeah.
page
Yeah.
applications. It's
Yeah.
more progressive web applications. Primary target of this, I guess, is some desktop.
The primary idea is that if
always
you
connected.
the primary idea is that you have something on the server that maybe from a phone, from time to time you get disconnected, but you will get connected back in a second, or the next stop in the metro or whatever. So it's more or less like just an alternative of React if you don't want to write JavaScript.
Thank you for the questions and for the additions. So I suggest to move to the demo. After that we'll have, I hope we'll have time for more questions. So, Mitko, sure.
Okay, so now I'm going to do a short demo on a little application with Vaadin. So yeah, I'll just move it out of here. I'll get out of presentation view in a moment. Okay, so hopefully you see my ID. Before we start, I want to show you what our final app will look like. So this is what we're going for. At the end, we're going to have a very small little app that we can add some stuff we'll call purchases, that they have names, they have prices, they have counts. So we can buy, let's say, 5 Shrek for 12 credits, and we can add more. I mean, and at the end we're going to have a total, and we'll have all of this in our little app, and we'll be able to delete what we select from the fields here. So it's going to be something very simple, something that we can do very quick in Vaadin. I mean, if you start working with, and you can even move it to your backend, right? If you start working with this, let's say you start a new web project and you start writing some JavaScript and some backend, and it's so annoying. It's always like something huge, and it's never nice. So let me just stop this. So usually the start of a Vaadin project is from their initializer. So they have this page, startvaadin.com, and here you can download a Hello World project. They have also a paid service where you can have a designer. So you have a designer which provides you a graphical interface to build a graphical interface, essentially, and it's going to export it to Java code, but we don't have anything licensed here, so we're just going to use the regular Hello World project, and I get a cybersecurity alert, which is great, but we're very secure here, so that's not a problem. Now, also as you download it, you can choose different types, different configurations for the project. So if you want to do it in some other way, you can, and that's great.
Just to mention that on Spring Starter you can also choose Vaadin, and they also have a plugin for IntelliJ, so you can have these things directly in IntelliJ.
Yeah, but it's also a paid plugin, so yeah, but you can have it. Some of it actually is paid. The designer is paid, but some other plugins, they're pretty cool. So yeah, now I'm not going to go through the setup of the project when I download it, but basically I have a copy of it here. I've added something very small, but before going through the code, I'm going to show you what the original project you download looks like. So you get an idea. I showed you where we're going to end. Now I'm going to show you where we start. So I will go to where the project is, and this is how the initial project looks like. Now we're starting a few times because it's in developer mode, and actually one of the cool features it supports is that as you add code and as you save your files, it's going to restart your project. So that's pretty cool. And actually, now that I talk about it, I should enable it. I should run it in debug mode, and pretty much this is how it would work. So this is how the initial project looks like, which you download. You can write some stuff. So we went with Shrek earlier. We're going to go with Shrek again. And Shrek disappeared because the project reloaded. Well, that's great. So yeah, we have this stuff, and as you say hello more times, more stuff is going to appear. So this is how the original project looks like. Now, going through the code, actually I'm going to go through, let me just close everything so it's, where is the close tab? I don't see the close tabs.
Second.
Close all tabs. Okay, so I'm going to close all tabs. We're just going to this project. And the more important part of this project is in SRC, main, Java. You have front end, that's cursed. We're actually maybe going to go there a little bit later, but that's pretty cursed. So you should avoid it. You should just delete references to it. So you can just use pure Java and you don't have to touch what's in there. So initially this project, you're just going to have application, grid service, and main view. I added these purchases because I didn't want to waste your time writing a DTO and a repository. I mean, you probably already have an idea how this happens, so it's going to be a huge waste of time if I go through it again, through it over here. So just to be quick, I'm going to show you the structure of the purchase. So this is the purchase object. It has a name, price and count, different data types. So we're going to go through it, and we have a very basic repository where we add, delete, get all, and delete all. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. So this is the purchases. So our life starts in the main view, and as you open the new project, you're going to see a lot of stuff that isn't code. Now, this would be some pretty useful comments if you're just starting, but here we have no time to read them. So we're gonna do the best thing and just delete every comment we have. So we're gonna trim down this project a little bit. So we see some text fields and some stuff. We're gonna get to that. So let's just keep all the code we have here. We actually see something very cursed right now, which is styles.css. Now this is very bad. This is actually going to screw up our project a lot if we keep it. So we're not just going to delete the code. We're actually going to delete the not just the comment, but the code itself as well that goes with it, because we don't want CSS, we want Java, right? So this is the trimmed version of the project, and now it's a lot smaller. It's a lot more obvious what happens. So this thing we saw earlier, where we have this this little text field and this button and all of those pop-ups. Oh wait, it's rebuilding a front. Yeah, we removed the CSS. Look how much better it looks now. Yeah, it's.
Mitko is joking, but of course you should put some CSS on your page. So there's a notation even for that. You can just provide a CSS file. But as he said, we are backend developers, so we'll just show you the building of the components. I wasn't joking.
So pretty much this is what it looks like. So we have the text field, which is the text field for your name over here, and all of the components that made up the initial page we have. So we can see that this button actually here is a little bit more interesting. It has an anonymous function associated with it. Now this is the function that makes the pop-ups happen. So yeah, this is pretty much what the original state of this project is. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep removing stuff because we want to build this little purchase tracker we saw earlier. So we're going to remove most of the stuff, but not everything, right? I mean, I'm gonna keep the button, I'm gonna keep the text field. So if you remember at the start of the purchase tracker, we had a table on the top and where the purchases were tracked. So we're gonna start here by adding a purchase table. And actually we're gonna do it class level because we're later gonna access this purchase table. So let me just do a little purchase table. So this is going to be our table. And we're going to express it. Actually, I need to give it a class. So we're going to express it as a Vaadin grid. So this is a component of Vaadin. It's a grid. And it's going to contain purchase items, which were part of the repository we showed earlier. And we're going to, of course, we're gonna write the variable name. So we have the purchase grid. And we're not gonna assign it yet. We're gonna assign it a little bit later. So by a little bit later, I mean in the constructor right underneath. So here, we're going to actually create the grid. And we're going to pass the purchase class. So initially I'm not going to pass the purchase class, so you can see what fun things will happen if we don't pass it. Yeah, here we're going to create the purchase grid. And also we're going to need a few text fields because this class name, actually now I notice it, this class name is also something that's related to CSS. So we're going to remove it as well because it's CSS and we don't need bad stuff like this. We're going to need, I think, 3 text fields. Yeah, we're going to need 3 text fields. So we're going to need 3 text fields for the different properties of the purchase. So this is some boring stuff. We have name, we have, this is going to be the name of the item. We have a count, how much we want to buy, and we have a price, which is the initial cost. So I'm just going to add those things over here. Now, if you pass a single string to a text field, it's going to make it appear above the text field that you have. So, for example, this your name over here, it's actually what's passed to the text field. So this is the message above the text field, and we don't have this anymore, so let's just replace it over here. It doesn't matter for now, we're going to fix it up later. Now here we're gonna need a button to add purchase. So let's say we have add purchase. We're also going to make a few other buttons. So let's say here I'm going to make this add button. We're going to also need to remove purchase, right? This is also what we're going to need. So for now, we're not going to change much. So let's go with add button and remove button. So I'm just going to change up the things here. And so now we have everything we need pretty much to, and let's do this as remove. So now we have a skeleton of what we're going to need for a little purchasing tool. So now the application should restart, everything should be okay. So just it needs a little second over here. And it's over here, but now we see that we only have name and purchase. We added a lot of other stuff, and for some reason it's not here. That's because we haven't added it to the view. So we have this little add method at the end that's inherited from the vertical layout of Vaadin. And here we need to add every component we do. So let's add the count, let's add the price, these are text fields. We have the add button already. Let's have the remove button. And also we need to add our grid at the start, which was the purchase grid. Or did I name it purchase grid? Yeah, so yeah, anyway, it's gonna be the purchase grid. So it's gonna be the purchase table, but it doesn't matter much really. So we have the purchase grid, we have all of this added to our initial component. So now, as this thing reloads, we're going to see our changes, and there are gonna be a lot more happy little elements here. So much that they go outside of the screen, which is cool. We also notice that the 2 buttons are different. That's because we have more cursed CSS to deal with that we should remove. Actually, this is no longer CSS. This is Java, so that's actually cool. We're not going to remove it. We're going to add it to the second button as well, because Java is cool. So now both of our buttons are going to have themes, and they're going to look the same. They're going to be happy. Now, you might remember that in the initial version of this little applet, it looked a little bit different. We're going to fix this later. It's not so important right now. So, or actually, maybe it is. Actually, let's make it look good first, and then we're going to care about the functionality. Yeah. So first off, we can actually nest layouts inside layouts, which is pretty cool. So here we have a vertical layout, and instead of all of those buttons being here in the wild, we can actually add them to a layout. So I can make a horizontal layout, which I'm going to name text fields. I'm going to pass the fields I made to this little layout. And also, I'm going to add another horizontal layout for the buttons, so they're going to look much better now. So I'm going to name this buttons. I'm going to make new horizontal layout. I'm going to add the add button and the remove button. So now we have both of those as well. We can start deleting stuff here. So we just have our grid. We have our text fields. Yeah, which is another. Actually, no, it's not a grid. It's a layout. Yeah, here we have nested layouts. So we have a bunch of layouts. So now it's actually going to look much better. So we just did a little bit of Java, like 20 lines of Java, and we have a UI that actually looks like something. Not yet. After it reloads, it's going to look better. So you see, we have something much simpler. Now, I mentioned earlier that here in the grid we're going to have a problem later, and I'm actually going to stick with the problem. I want us to see the problem. So now it's time to add functionality. So first off, we're going to add an element. We're going to take care of the logic for adding an element. So let's create a new method. Let's make it to add a purchase. I'm going to pass, and in this method I'm actually going to pass the text fields because it's going to look better after this. So let's do the name field. Let's do a bunch of text fields here. So we have the count field, and we're going to also have the price field. So we have all of those. And now we need to, by adding this purchase, we need to populate this to the grid we made earlier. So what we have over here is not going to be empty, because for right now, if we add the name, count, and a price, and we add a purchase, nothing is going to happen. So let's make this logic work. And for example, here, right now, we're actually going to move this away from the grid service. We no longer need the grid service. So if you remember, I mentioned this purchases repository earlier. So right now, we're going to add a repository. So let's add the repository so we can actually start moving stuff. Now, let's store repository over here, and the grid service, we're going to remove it. So let's remove that thing. We break a bunch of code, that's completely fine. It always happens, so it's not a problem. So we're just not going to have a callback here. So we just remove the callback, and we're gonna have a button that does nothing, which is absolutely fine. So these buttons over here, they now do nothing. And yeah, we have our purchase repository, so let's assign it over here. So I mean, pretty much like you would do any other, I mean, this is not really controller layer stuff. This is more what you would do in your service, but it's the same over here. I mean, you can do it however you like. So yeah, so here we now have the purchase repository set up, and now when we add a purchase, this is the place where we're going to pretty much fuse what we have in the graphical interface with what we have under the whole interface where the application logic is. So first off, we're going to have to extract the values. Now, the name is simple. We can just use, let me just give it a. So first off, the name is simple. We just extract the value from the name field, and we're all good. Now, next up, we have the count. So the count is not so simple. I mean, the count, pretty much we have to get the value, but the value is not enough. We also have to cast it to string, to integer. So
Count field, not name.
oh yeah, right. Yeah, it's the count field. So we just parse the integer, and we do the same for the float, where this is our price. So we parse our float, and we need it from the price field. So we get our value from the price field. And now we have everything we need pretty much to add our purchase to the repository. So we create our new purchase. So we have our name, price, and count. And now we should add everything that we have over here to the grid. And this is the place where I'm also going to update the grid. So to do this, we pretty much call our purchase grid. We set the items, and a single method is used to set all the items in the grid, so you can pretty much update it every time. So I think you update all items every time. And actually, before we do this, we should add it to the repository. So we add our purchase, and we get all our items from the repository. So this is what we do over here. We save it, and now when we call this add purchase, when we click the add purchase button, we add a method that's going to be called whenever we click this button, and this is going to pretty much we call a method. Oh crap! So yeah, we have our references here to the text fields, right? So we when we click the button, we're pretty much given an anonymous function to it, and then we can actually call our add purchase method with it, and we pretty much can straight up in the way I've written it here, we can pass the name, the count, and the price as fields. And right now, what we have over here, should work. Oh, something doesn't work. Something broke. Yeah, apparently it was still refreshing when I clicked it. So right now, when I add something, so let's say 1 and we add a purchase, it doesn't work, and it doesn't work because what I mentioned earlier with the grid, we have a problem with the grid. Now, even though you've specified the class you're going to use, you actually need to pass your class to the constructor, or you need to set the columns of your grid. And the way you do this is by passing purchase the class of the model you're going to use, or you can just set up whatever columns you like. I mean, the grid itself, as a class, has a bunch of methods that allows you to set the columns. So yeah, this is pretty much it. So now our grid should work. And
There's a
when this
question.
loads, yes.
Actually, what you mentioned, yeah, the binding is done by Vaadin, but if you want, you can manually add the columns and so on. So, what's the question?
The question is, in the beginning you mentioned that the framework is such that the business logic is implemented, executes on the backend, on the server, which I assume is not the front end where the client UI is executed. Where is the callbacks or the actions of the clicks executed? On the client or on the server?
On the server.
I will assume on the server because that's
On the server, yes.
Then it comes the hard question. How does this thing know how to keep the data that it wraps behind these abstractions of the text field? Because this is essentially something that represents the actual UI control on the other side, where you can call the JavaScript to pull the properties. Does it do round trips to get the values from there, or it pushes the whole state whenever the handler happens, or it does some magic to understand, oh, you're using these and these and these fields, so make a proxies for them or keep the state that you need to pass in the, I assume is the JSON or other.
Good question.
Call.
But we're not prepared to answer right now. But yeah, it's interesting.
Can you repeat the question?
Difficult thing.
Yes.
Actually, how it's happened, how they are doing it, and how this flow client actually is doing it. First, we're not prepared to do it, to answer. Later, second, it should be will be.
Just press F, open the development console in the browser and just add a purchase and you see how it works.
Yeah, we can do it, but I suggest let's complete with let's finish the presentation. After that, we can press F12 and see what's going on. And yeah, but thank you for the interest.
Yeah, we're also running out of time. So now that we added a reference to the grid, so it knows what columns to use, we can pretty much add something. So we're gonna add 3 shreks, each 12. So now, when we add something, we actually can see it. So that's pretty cool. So we can add new stuff and we can change it. So yeah, we have a bunch of things here. And yeah, adding the delete is pretty much the same. I mean, you would add a new method to delete it, then you would update it. So yeah, actually,
the most important thing in this add purchase method is the last line, where you set the items to the grid. All the stuff you know it. So yeah, I mean, it's important to show how to work with the Vaadin components in the demo. The other things are clear. So it's interesting. It's very the powerful thing here is how you on line 40 you add the other horizontal layout that you created, and it generates the UI. This is the thing that we want to show you actually. There are many listeners. For example, the grid has single select listener, multiple select listener, and all those stuff. So you can add also shortcuts directly to your web page and any other things.
so right now we're going to implement the deletion of a single method. Not a single method, but a single item. So essentially here we have a bunch of shrek. And let's say we want to delete one of them when our project is online and when we have something. So what we want to do right now is we want to have an item, let's say a bunch of different items. And we want to be able to select one of them and delete them by clicking the remove purchase button. Now here we're going to reference an item that's directly in our grid we can work with. So what we do to make this work is we need to add a change listener to our grid. So, and what the change listener is going to do is when you click something on the grid, you can trigger an event. And with this event, you can do stuff. So in this scenario, we're going to add, we're actually before adding the listener to the purchase grid, what we're going to do is we're going to make a new purchase, right, with a new purchase reference. And this is going to be our active purchase. We're going to name it like this. And this is going to represent what we've essentially selected in the grid last. So here in our purchase grid, we can have on our single select, right? Because you can do multiple selects, and you can add a value change listener. And what you can do here is you can essentially pass this event, and then this event is going to not the active, actually active purchase. I want to make active purchase be equal to the value of whatever the current selection is. So this is what this event represents. And now what we can actually do is we can even, in this scenario, I'm even gonna make this void because it's gonna make life a little bit easier. So we can just do active no, I'm not gonna pass it as an argument. Oh yeah, actually it's not an argument here. I thought I was touching the interface of the method there. So I have my active purchase, I pass it for deletion, then again I set up the items, and now here I'm just going to call delete purchase. Oh, this doesn't work well.
You should accept the event, otherwise it's not controlled.
Yeah, you're correct. You're very correct about this. So I can't just directly call it. That's fine. That's completely okay. And I should probably rename this to delete active purchase because it's not really an abstract purchase, but that doesn't matter. I mean, it's we have like 5 minutes left, so no time to.
Names are very important.
Yeah, names are very important, but here I think we can do a compromise. We have very little time, so let's go with item 1, 2, 3, something, and maybe something like this. So we have a bunch of different items, and now when we remove a purchase, we remove whatever we have selected. So yeah, and actually if we have multiple things, this is because it's a very simple in-memory repository that references items by their whole signature. Essentially, if we select something that's the same, it's going to remove one of them, which I think in this scenario it works fine. I mean, it's basically the same item for what we do here now. So yeah, pretty much that's it. I was thinking of doing a total here, so we do some very simple calculations as well, but we're running out of time, so I think it's better if we just move on. So yeah, I'm going to.
Can we see the network tab now? Because it was interesting question that probably summarizes.
Yeah, we can. Just one more slide, please. One more. Slide.
No, show the network tab.
No, we'll return. I know. Talk is chill. Show me the code. We'll do it.
Every component have a state.
Yeah,
they send the delta of what has been changed.
Yeah, but that's easier to see it.
That's it. It's not rocket science. But
We'll do it. Just give me the last slide, and we can even comment.
Yeah, so I'm going to switch to presentation just in a second. Oh, right.
Why are we losing time?
this is why should be an important.
I hope you'll
Yeah,
get all the questions. Sure, you have a lot.
It's a very important slide.
Yeah, actually, the advantages
Get to be prepared for this slide.
advantages and disadvantages, and we're done. So
Well, actually, I have a technical issue for some reason. I got disconnected from PowerPoint, from online PowerPoint. So I'm actually going to show you what we see in the presentation view.
That's because you cursed the UI.
Yeah.
Now it curses me back. So yeah, I'm just going to straight up show this in full screen as much as I can. I have no presenter view. I actually have nothing. I don't even have the slide.
Yeah, because you're using some Microsoft bullshit.
Yeah, it's.
It's because you're in airplane mode. That's why.
Oh, I just went into airplane.
Airplane mode. Turn it off.
So something is also going off down there. So I have no idea.
that's our timer, I guess.
Yeah, so be right back. We just went on a plane. We just flew a little. Now we're gonna land back in our presentation, hopefully. We also have Bluetooth. So yeah, this is the curse. Did I close?
Again?
Yeah, there it is, finally. So our most important slide coming right up.
Now, you removed animations. Thank you for that.
Yeah, we used to have animations. Imagine how long that would take.
So, this is my time to show that I'm a good salesman. So, pure Java, this is the advantages. Where is the mouse? Do we have a mouse? Yep. Okay, Vaadin is in pure Java, perfect for back office application. I told you, you can very quickly, very fast build application. It's type safe and compile time errors because it is in Java. You can very easily debug it and very easily testing it. It's very important because usually UI is not tested easily. You have all the advantages of Java language, of course. Vaadin has stable API. They have very good backward compatibility, good community, and good documentation. This is also very important. And yeah, you can add custom stuff. It's not. Yeah. So what are the disadvantages? Some of the components, like charts, for example, are paid. Otherwise, it is licensed under Apache 2. But some of the things are paid. And this is the biggest disadvantages, continuous communication between the browser and the server. So it could not scale very well, but it has to be tested because they improved things over the years. So yeah, and yeah, everything which is generated could be worse than if you manually write it. I mean, the HTML and JavaScript. So you have to have that in mind. So now, yeah, actually there is a very nice sampler where you can see a lot of visual components, and this is the starter that we used. You can find us on LinkedIn. We'll be happy. Maybe we have 1 minute to show the sampler. If you just click. No. Okay, the network tab. Okay.
People want the F12. Let's show them the F12. Let's give the people what they need.
I had to try.
Yeah, you should listen to the audience.
Oh, sorry, I went back into this. Yeah, okay, so, right, we want to check what's happening in our network, I assume. So let's see, I added a purchase. It's, oh wait, I want to see more details about this request. So let's look at the payload. You can't see it? No, this is not what we care about, right? This is...
Not carrying the information about
Yes, that's the payload.
Well,
The
yeah,
payload
you
is the
mentioned
one
that
that
it communicates to WebSocket, so probably most of the action.
It's over there. No, it was
wait, where?
Yeah, that's the primary.
Back? Where?
on the RPC, yeah, and then here.
Okay, so you want to see what you have over here.
Should have been somewhere here. So anyway, the way how it usually works is that every component has a state, and basically there is a state changed whatever shift that you implement, and it is combining all the states for all the components that have been changed, and this is returned. So you are not receiving the whole state.
JSF
the
Polygon,
views,
Yeah,
view state.
kind of, yeah.
yeah.
So that's how it
But
works.
the
Now,
transport layer is not the HTTP one, but the WebSocket one.
yeah, but the problem is that, and that was what he showed, the component itself is on the server. So, which means that the component is not shared because you may have fields. Which means you have basically the whole state on the server per client.
Okay,
So
so
it's not scaling at all.
Transport. Shit.
No, it scales, but it's more or less not for heavy stuff.
How do you say the component is not is on the server? It's not on the server. The component is the UI element on the
Yeah, but the whole
component,
state
and
of the component is
then
also
there is
stored.
another thing
Yes.
that is on the server, which represents
The
what
state-
it believes the view
Not only.
the view model is on the server.
Yeah, but not only the view model, also like the variable that he showed, the selected purchase, whatever.
Right.
It was filled, so which means this class is only for this particular instance. So every component state and every field in every other view is stored on the server.
So that does it mean that the selected purchase is happening from the client side, and when it happens on the client side,
No,
it
no, no,
informs
no,
the server.
no. So these objects are created on the server, and they are specific for each session. So basically, when you open the application, it creates a new session for you, and it creates all the objects, all the instances specifically for your session, and they're tied to your session. And when you're making a request, you're pressing the button, it uses the data from your session as a state for your application.
But which events make a request? Even the click on the table?
Yeah, even the table.
yeah,
Click
yeah.
on the table, you'll see. Even selecting
So
a row
when you click
makes
on
a
the
request.
table, it sends an event to the
Yeah,
server.
so you've selected.
Yeah, and then it executes the code that is attached to the event
You
handler.
selected this. You
So
don't
once
understand-
it executes the code, it makes some changes in the state. It tracks the state changes, and then it sends back the delta to the front end to update the UI.
So on the event to the server, it will know which components to pack the values so that we can
Yeah,
update the
yeah.
the
So
data.
it tracks where you touch, where you change the state
Does
on
this
the
happen
components.
on the event pass, or it happens through the WebSocket like a live connection?
I don't know.
Like for example, any character that I put this is a change event. in the
Yeah,
front end.
you can attach to a text field on key press, and every time you press a key, it will send an event to the server.
And then
But
the server
if you
tells
do
you
that,
what is the
you can
result.
kill the server very easily.
I have a question. Why would not use something like JSuite or whatever that's just transpiling Java to JavaScript, and you have a real client and a real server?
Yes.
Like what? And you will still write Java.
If you are so in love with Java, why just don't use
Yeah,
something like this?
JSuite or buy cheap for J, and then you can just write Swing, and it will work in a browser with zero
Well,
new information since
here the good thing
1998.
is that all the UI stuff is web components. So you can
Yeah,
write your own custom web components in JavaScript,
it's for web,
and
for
then
new
you can
components.
reuse
and then
them.
you can just create server-side extend
Yes.
component, and you can just have the. So it's just easier to enrich in a way with any web component.
Okay, time is up.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just.
Thanks, everyone.